John finds out about the supernatural on November 16th. He's writing about Ellen and Bill in the Roadhouse and Jo on the 20th.
Wow.
He knew about the supernatural for 4 days before he met Ellen and Jo and Bill.
Mover and shaker, you know?
It's moving quickly.
He found out about them 4 days in, and he also left his children with Ellen's niece. He didn't know Ellen, let alone her niece.
No, that is believable. That's completely believable that he would do that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
As a fun fact, not really having to do much with Ellen or Jo, but on this hunting trip that John is on that requires him to leave the children with Ellen's niece, Dean walks out of the Roadhouse in time to see John beheading a shapeshifter.
Oh.
Dean is 4 years old. It's been less than 3 weeks since Mary died.
I remember that entry. Very well.
You know, Dean just stood no chance. Like, he didn't have even like a month of like not knowing about the supernatural. Like, John found out about the supernatural and Dean found out about the supernatural within a week.
Alright, let's be careful with the infant.
On November 29th, John takes Bill and Ellen up on their offer to stay at the Roadhouse. It's unclear how long he's there, but it's not very long because he returns a month later with the intention of staying for a while to stabilize the boys a little bit because Dean's still screwed up from seeing that beheading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also wasn't he selectively mute too for almost like a year after Mary died too?
Yeah, I haven't read the journal too closely because I just got it and I was like looking for Ellen and Jo stuff specifically, but yeah, Dean was like struggling, and I think honestly John was like, I think he might be more screwed up from seeing me behead somebody than he is from the fact that his mom's dead. And I'm like, well, things happen so close together. Who's to say?
Also, you didn't burn Mary on the ceiling, John. Like, he trusts you. And watching you kill someone is probably kind of
They're gone again by May 2nd, 1984, Sam's birthday. They're visiting Daniel Elkins. John leaves them for a hunt. He leaves them at the Roadhouse so he can go hunting on November 2nd, 1985, which is the 2-year anniversary of Mary's death. And April 16th, 1986 is when John writes that Bill has died, which is a month and 9 years from when Jo's blog said it was.
Wow.
It's the details that got me, because it details how very much John's fault it was. Way worse than the story that Sam gives to Jo in the show. When Sam's possessed by Meg, Sam tells us like a pretty graphic story about what happened to Bill. It didn't even touch what John wrote in his journal.
Oh, goodness.
In John's journal, John breaks the salt line, and Bill is basically possessed at a Devil's Gate in California and pulls in Azazel, begging John to kill him the way that John was begging Sam to kill him. Except, unlike Sam, John doesn't.
Yeah, okay.
And then Bill uses his last breath to stumble back over to the Devil's Trap, fix it, and, like, let the thing out inside the Devil's Trap and get back out to save John's life so that the thing doesn't come out of him, like, outside the Devil's Trap.
Bill was a bro.
Wow. It was wasted on John, but, you know.
Yeah.
It really was.
John can't face Ellen and Jo. He takes the kids. As far as I can tell, there's not another mention of anyone connected to the Harvelles or the Roadhouse until October 28th, 2005.
It's like, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. John says that he gets a call from the Roadhouse. It clicked something into place for him. He's gonna go looking for it, and he, like, abandons the Woman in White hunt. And that's the final entry.
Well, that's great.
That's when John goes missing.
He just rolls up at Ellen's place like, hey, have you forgotten that whole thing yet?
So yeah, John's journal is pretty painful to read. Onto the show canon, what's actually in the show, and we'll go all the way into Ellen and Jo's actual storyline in this one. John and Bill were partners on a hunt when Jo was a little girl. Bill was also I felt the need to put this in my notes. Bill's full name was William Anthony Harvelle. Everybody just called him Bill, but his full name was William.
His initials spell WA.
Yeah, he did.
Not important, but also important.
In 206, Ellen says that John made a mistake and got Bill killed, and that's when John stopped coming to the Roadhouse and stopped talking about Ellen and Jo to the boys, so they didn't remember when they were older because they were so little when that happened. In season 2, episode 14, Meg, the demon, possesses Sam and has a confrontation with Jo, where Jo says that their dad was at Devil's Gate Reservoir in California. Bill was bait. John was waiting. John came out too soon. Bill was killed by whoever they were hunting. Meg says Bill was hurt, eviscerated. John then shot Bill in the head even while he prayed to see Ellen and Jo one more time. That's the story that they get there. As to me, that's really bad. But, Bill was dying and you, sped it up. The one where Bill was possessed and he told you to shoot him and you did it, to me, that's way worse. That is pure just incompetence.
Yeah.
Come on, John. Also, did Meg ever say how she knew that story?
She didn't.
I like to imagine it's a lot of, demonic water cooler talk.
I mean, John is theoretically in hell at that point, and Meg has just returned from hell. So theoretically, she could have heard that directly from John.
Yeah, but also, like, the circumstances are such that the audience can choose which story they want to believe.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Jo at one point went to college, but felt like she didn't fit in, so she dropped out. At some point, she met Ash. We know that Ellen called John offering help with the demon in about March or April of 2006, about 4 months before John's death, which is either July or August. And they met Sam and Dean about a week after John died. Season 2, episode 6, which we covered last week, which we haven't recorded yet. They really treated it like Jo had never been hunting in the field before, which isn't consistent with her journal at all.
Yeah.
Like, she hasn't been hunting a lot, but like she does have some practical experience. After that, Jo goes out on her own hunting, despite Ellen's best wishes. She's working in bars for money along the way. In season 2, episode 21, all hell breaks loose. The Roadhouse burns to the ground, but Jo's like been out hunting for months. Ellen's allegedly out running an errand. She returns to find the place in ruin, and everyone who was trapped inside, including our beloved baby boy Ash, who's ID'd by his wash.
Gone too soon.
Gone way too soon.
We barely had a chance to get to know him. Like, we loved him, but we didn't get enough.
Ash does not have a last name. He doesn't have a backstory. We don't know where he came from.
And that's all he became, Ash.
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't even need a backstory. He just needed more screen time.
Very true.
I would have liked to know. I would have liked a last name.
I think that's like part of the fun part of Ash. He could like give us wildly contradicting backstories all the time, and it would be wonderful.
Maybe Ash wasn't even his name. Maybe it was like the artist formerly known as Prince or like Pink. Like Ash is just like his like hunter persona name.
Abigail and I, we brainstormed like what a Roadhouse like prequel would have looked like. And it was so good.
Better than the prequel that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Probably, but if it makes it to a series, I'm gonna cover it. I'm gonna team up with Driver Picks the Podcast. We'll get it done somehow.
Never would have thought of a Roadhouse prequel. Like, all my spin-off ideas are really weird and specific.
We could have had anybody, because like all these hunters like could have been coming and going all the time.
Yeah, like that would have been a great TV show.
We were just like brainstorming how many hunters we could think of names for. Like how many like we could think of by name from that era.
We could use this to develop other characters too, like Pastor Jim.
Yeah, literally, it was like Pastor Jim and Caleb and like literally so many. But anyway, after so many hunters die in the Roadhouse and losing the Roadhouse and witnessing so many demons escape at the Devil's Gate in Wisconsin, Ellen reconnects with Jo and they start hunting together. And then Ellen and Jo are glaringly absent from seasons 3 and 4. Yes. Apparently, Ellen was supposed to have a storyline, but because of the writer's strike and everything being condensed down in season 3, they just, A, didn't have time, B, they didn't have the money to pay Samantha Ferris, so she just opted not to appear. But yeah, they just went from being like family to not offering any help for Dean's demon deal or, you know, any of the seal breaking activities, but they do resurface in season 5.
So obviously the only course of action after all this like absence is to kill them.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
They weren't here for apocalypse prevention, but now that the apocalypse is on, they are right back here ready to die.
And they,
just like the expendable female characters they are.
Yeah, we do learn that they've been hunting this whole time together. Specifically, they've been in contact with other hunters, like Rufus, Bobby's oldest hunting friend. And Jo helps the boys break into Crowley's mansion to get the colt by pretending to be a damsel in distress. Both of them go with the Winchesters to Carthage, where Jo is fatally wounded saving Dean, and then they both die in an explosion, helping the Winchesters escape. So they can shoot Lucifer, which does absolutely nothing because nobody read them the fine print on the gun.
Yay.
It seems like all of a sudden everybody like knows about this 5 things that the gun can't kill rule that just came up out of nowhere.
Because that's how world building on Supernatural works.
Yeah.
We just add things as we think of them.
In season 6, we see an alternate reality where the Titanic hasn't sunk, and due to a series of events being altered as a result, Ellen and Jo survive in Carthage, continuing to hunt together, and Jo also has a crew that she hunts with when Ellen stays in Sioux Falls because she's married to Bobby in this alternate reality. That was a lot. And then we have 2 ghostly appearances by Ellen and Jo. In season 7, episode 4, Jo's ghost is summoned to kill Dean after he's found guilty of feeling responsible for her death, as well as a bunch of other things. It did. Jo tells Dean he needs to let go of all the crap he holds on to, even as she's actively trying to kill him.
And doing pretty well at it, too.
Yeah, and then Sam, releases the control over her that's forcing her to kill Dean, and she dissipates, and she doesn't kill Dean. It's all good. They have a big, face caress moment.
Everything is fine.
Everything is totally fine. My actual favorite post-death Ellen and Jo moment, though, is in season 7, episode 7, 3 episodes later, The Mentalist, when a psychic randomly stops Dean and tells him that someone named Ellen is, quote, concerned, and she demands that Dean tell someone how badly he's doing mentally, or she will, quote, kick his ass from the beyond.
I mean, that does sound like the Ellen we know and love.
The guy who's telling Dean this is like a museum tour guy. He's wearing like a bow tie and like a suit, and he like is like a very proper looking gentleman, and he seems very disturbed to be using this language, but it's so clear that Ellen is like yelling at him to be like, no, tell him exactly what I said.
And we can tell that there's at least one person in this town who's for real.
Which prompts Dean to try and make up with Sam from their fight that they're having, which Dean does so badly. Like, he makes the worst attempt ever, but it's fine. And that is the history of Ellen and Jo on Supernatural.
Short, sad history.
They're kind of mentioned in Dark Side of the Moon. When Sam and Dean go to heaven, they find Ash, and they inform Ash that Ellen and Jo have died, and he has not come across them in heaven, which, you know, doesn't bode well, especially since they both turn up as ghosts later on. Like, they might be haunting stuff.
Ooh. I don't like that.
Me neither. And then in the, like, very end finale, there's, like, a version of the Roadhouse in heaven, but we don't see Ellen and Jo. We don't know if they're actually there. We don't have answers.
Yay.
Not gonna get any more specific, because Moira and Meredith haven't got to the end.
Yeah. Moira might care more than I do.
So I want to talk a bit about, like, the purpose of Ellen and Jo. Why they're here, why they were killed off, what's up with Ellen and Jo, why we love them.
You know what, something was crazy, though, that I did see on one of the Supernatural wiki pages for Ellen. I think it was something like, unlike most female characters, most of the female fans actually had a positive response to Ellen, so that's why they kept her around.
Yes.
Like,
Ridiculous.
Yep. Jo and Bella were victims of the fandom.
I know, I hate that. I mean,
you know, we need to have an episode on Bella later, too.
Oh, we will, when we know Bella.
Especially because I feel like Bella is something where, like, they were saying that she didn't seem, like, redeemable, but there were totally moments...
Oh, a man definitely said that.
Yeah, but... It's because, really quick,
yeah.
Just like Bella is, like, one of those really fun character archetypes where it's like, yeah, she's, like, affably evil, where she, like, same thing with Crowley, like, later on, right? Where it's like, she's a bad guy, but she'll, like, help the boys on occasion, you know? Like, that's, like, the best type of character to be. Anyway.
I feel like, I don't know, we were saying, like, the negative reaction to Jo was partly based on, like, how she was originally framed as kind of a love interest for Dean. I just feel like that's really restrictive to her character.
Oh, 100%.
You could have kept her around, but, like, as something more than a love interest. Like, as we've proven, like, she can be her own character.
And I feel like this might be, like, fan opinion, and I think it really depends on who you ask, but I think maybe partially just because the actress also, to me, just seemed very, like, petite and very, like, young-looking, so when it was, like, her and Dean, I'm like, this looks weird.
I was like, this is wrong.
I don't know. So I never saw it.
I did go looking to see if there was a reason why they didn't really come back. I did find Alana Tall had said somewhere that, like, once Eric Kripke moved on from the project, she didn't really think that the people who had taken over on the creative, like, side of things had, like, the experience to, like, appreciate Ellen and Jo as characters, so, like, they weren't really, like, looking to come back.
Yeah, Eric Kripke, paragon of writing women well.
They didn't feel that their characters would be understood, and, like, you know what? Fair enough.
Yeah, that is fair, but also,
if you don't want to come back, don't come back, I guess.
It's like, if you think they're gonna be worse than Kripke, then I guess that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he could obviously come up with some, like, good concepts for female characters, but that doesn't mean he treated them very well.
Ellen and Jo were introduced in order to add female characters to the show. Meg and John were the only recurring guest stars in season 1, aside from Jensen and Jared. Like, there was literally no other recurring characters in season 1. And obviously, Meg's character was sent to hell in the season 1 finale. John was killed in the first episode of season 2, meaning that going into season 2, they needed new people for the Winchesters to interact with. Cue Ellen and Jo, Ash, Bobby. Eric Kripke famously hated the Roadhouse concept, and I know I've been a little bit mean in the past to Eric, but Mr. Kripke, if you're ever listening, please consider this an open invitation to come on the show and explain why. I don't understand what your issue was with the Roadhouse.
Did he ever say
Come on,
anything
Ohio
about
man, tell us.
I think the main problem that Eric had with the Roadhouse was that he always was invested in this road trip, 2 guys in a car going from town to town. Like, that was his original vision for Supernatural, and he was really set on keeping it that way. I don't think the Roadhouse ever detracted from that or tied the boys down. And I think
No, it was a repeated destination.
Bobby's home performance